All right, let's talk about the big one, the question that's kind of freaking everybody out. What happens when AI can do pretty much every job? Instead of just guessing, we decided to go straight to the source. We asked 4 of the biggest AI models out there to lay out the most realistic plan for our future. And what's wild is they all basically agreed. So today we're going to cut through all that noise and show you the one plan that's probably coming.
Okay, let's just get right into it. The consensus is pretty clear. AI is set to take over most jobs, and we're talking within the next 10 years. So are we ready? I mean, really ready for what comes after that? The real question isn't if this massive shift is going to happen. It's, do we even have a plan for the world on the other side? So what are people talking about? What are the big ideas on the table? You know, the first idea that always gets thrown around is this really big one, universal basic income. You'd probably heard of it, right? UBI. It sounds radical, but also kind of simple, and it's definitely gotten a ton of buzz. So it feels like the perfect place to start. Let's dig in and figure out what exactly it is. So the key word here, and it's a big one, is universal. This isn't welfare, not in the way we think about it. It's basically a regular cash payment that goes to every single citizen. No conditions, no strings attached. It doesn't matter if you're a student, a billionaire, or not working. Everyone gets the exact same check. And if you want a real-world example, you just have to think back to Andrew Yang's presidential run. Remember the Freedom Dividend? That was his plan to give every American adult $1,000 a month. That proposal really pushed UBI into the spotlight, and now it's kind of the go-to example for what this would actually look like in practice. So what's the big appeal? Well, the main argument is that UBI could just replace our current welfare system, which, let's be honest, is super complex and expensive to run. The idea is to just get rid of all that bureaucracy, the caseworkers, the auditors, the whole shebang, and just send the money directly to people. Simple, right? Okay, but then you see the price tag. A UBI of $1,000 a month for every adult in the US would cost something like $2.5 trillion. And that's not a one-time thing. That's every single year. It's just a mind-boggling number, and it raises the most obvious question in the world. How on earth do you pay for that? And here's the kicker. Even if you could magically find the money, you've got an even bigger problem. This quote from Economics Explained nails it. Inflation. I mean, think about it. You're pumping trillions of new dollars into the economy. All that cash chasing the same amount of stuff, prices would almost certainly skyrocket. And that inflation could just completely wipe out the value of that $1,000 check you just got. So, with these huge, huge hurdles, UBI starts to feel less like a real plan and more like a fascinating what-if scenario. So, this is where we turn to the AI models. We asked them straight up, is UBI the most likely future? And they all came back with a hard no. So, if it's not UBI, what is it? Here's what they said. All right, so here's where it gets really interesting. We didn't just ask one AI. We asked a bunch of them, OpenAI's, Google's, Anthropic's, Claude, you name it. We gave them the same prompt. What's the most plausible government response to mass job displacement from AI? And what's wild is that they all, independently, came to a very similar conclusion. Not some sci-fi utopia, but a messy, hybrid solution that's grounded in, well, reality. So forget about a single clean solution. The AI consensus points to what you could call a patchwork model. It's basically a mix of different policies cobbled together. And it's built on 3 main pillars. First, you figure out a way to tax the huge profits companies make from automation. Second, you give people financial help, but it's targeted, not universal. And third, you actually step in to protect and fund specific jobs that just have to be done by a human. Let's look at the key features of this thing. First off, notice there's no free money. Any benefits you get are probably going to be tied to work or retraining or proving you need it. This isn't about tearing down the old system and starting over. It's about tweaking and adding to the systems we already have, piece by piece. The whole goal isn't some grand new vision for society. It's just keeping things stable.
Okay, so that's the general idea. But what does this actually look like when you try to implement it in a place like the United States, with its, let's say, unique political landscape? Well, the AIs predict it'll be sold to the public as something like a patchwork productivity bargain.
And it would probably roll out in 4 very deliberate, very political steps. Step 1, rebrand everything. Give it a new name so it sounds better. Step 2, don't create new stuff, just expand the programs people already know and trust. Step 3, make a big show of protecting certain kinds of human jobs. And finally, step 4, pay for it all with quiet, behind-the-scenes taxes that most people won't even notice. This is pure political marketing 101. Words like universal basic income or robot tax. Yeah, those are dead on arrival in American politics. So you change the wrapping. UBI becomes the American Stability Benefit. A robot tax becomes an automation impact fee. It's the exact same idea, just with a new coat of paint that sounds a lot less scary and a lot more, patriotic and pro-business. All right, next up, you protect the jobs that people can't imagine a robot doing. We're talking about professions where human trust is everything. Teachers, nurses, elder care workers, first responders. The political pitch here is brilliant because it's not anti-AI. It's framed as being pro-community, pro-safety. It's an easy win, and it keeps millions of people in very visible, very essential jobs.
So, where does the money come from? Well, you're not going to see a big, loud fight over wealth tax. According to the AI models, the funding will be much sneakier. We're talking about small, incremental changes. Things like a slightly higher corporate tax rate specifically on profits generated by AI, or maybe a new fee on the massive server farms that power all this automation. It's a much quieter way to get the money without starting a political firestorm.
Okay, so this whole patchwork plan, it sounds pretty reasonable, right? It's pragmatic. It seems politically possible. It feels like a sensible way to move forward. But there's a huge risk hidden in this slow and steady approach. And it's a risk that every single one of the AI models flagged as the plan's fatal flaw.
And this quote from Claude's analysis just lays it out, plain and simple. The problem? It's probably inadequate. That's it. That's the core danger. This whole plan is designed to be politically safe, to avoid rocking the boat. But in trying to be so careful, it's almost certainly not going to be enough to handle the sheer size of the economic tidal wave that's heading our way.
And when you break it down, you can see exactly why it might fail. The programs will probably be constantly underfunded, the government will move at a snail's pace while technology moves at light speed, the job retraining programs will be teaching people skills for jobs that a new AI model made obsolete last week, and the whole thing will be rolled out unevenly, creating a messy system with huge gaps.
So you end up with this massive gap between the goal and the reality. The whole point of this patchwork plan is to have a smooth, managed, stable transition into the age of AI. But what we'll likely get, because the plan is so cautious and piecemeal, is a really chaotic, messy adjustment period with a safety net that's more like a sieve, just full of holes.
So in the end, what the AI models are telling us is that there's no grand visionary plan on the horizon. The real plan is just a bet that our current political and economic systems can bend and stretch and adapt without completely shattering. And that leaves us with the one question that really matters. We're in a race between technology that's moving exponentially fast and a political system that moves incrementally slow. The question is, can we possibly adapt in time?